Guys, and welcome to my new video, and today we'll be looking at Shadowlands healer changes. This is going to be probably, let me know if you want this, a weekly series where I'm going to be looking at all of the Shadowlands healer changes. I'm going to be making my recommendations, and I'm basically going to be testing those changes to see how they work and how they're going to impact possibly Mythic Plus and Raid environment. If you want to see this kind of video series, let me know in the comments. And also, because this is a very early look, the beta build is only finished a couple hours ago. If I miss out on something, let me know in the comments. I'll try and look at all the suggestions and possibly make videos in the next couple of days looking at those suggestions. So let's get started with this weekly build. And there's been quite a few changes with certain classes. Things like monks and paladins received some substantial alterations to their class, which we'll spend more time looking at it. But druids got some changes as well. So if we look at the restoration druid, potency changes. Swiftman healing is increased from 30% to 40% of the consumed healer overtime effect. So a lot of the alterations might be to do with conduits, keep that in mind. And we're also going to look at Unstoppable Growth, which is an extremely strong potency conduit for a very long time. And while Growth's healing falls off 20% less overtime, which has been nerfed because it used to be 30%. And this is somewhat understandable because Unstoppable Growth was really strong for a long time. We'll see which potency conduit combo is going to emerge as being the strongest one. But in terms of more conduit changes, you'll see that certain covenant conduits have also been changed. So if you remember, while channeling Convoke to Spirit is Night Fake Covenant, which is probably the most popular one for Resto Druids right now. Your damage and healing are increased by, instead of 12 to 15, so that has been buffed, which is a little bit weird because Convoke to Spirit has already been a very strong covenant. And you also see Ravenous Frenzy, which is the Ventier ability, and the conduit for it, Ravenous Frenzy, increases your critical strike chance by, instead of 2%, it went down to 0.5 per stack, which is a nerf, which again is kind of weird considering that Convoke the Spirit has been a more popular option instead of Ravenous Frenzy, even though Ravenous Frenzy or Ventier ability has been experimented in Mythic Plus content. So again, I feel like Blizzard might have some changes happening to Convoke the Spirit in the future to kind of make sense with what's going on right now. But again, this is speculation. This is what happened so far. So Mistweavers are the ones that received a substantial amount of changes. So this is nothing. There's nothing here. This is nothing to take into account. But here, the two legendaries have been somewhat reworked or completely changed. So now, Ancient Teaching of the Monastery, which is your Fistweaving legendary, which has been broken from the very start. Now it reads, after casting Essence Font, your Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick, Rising Sun Kick, heal an injured ally within 20 yards for 250% of the damage done. So this is huge because, first of all, it used to be 120, but now you're tied into casting Essence Font. And in order to fully showcase what's going on, I need to go and test it out on the beta. So this is my beautiful monk, and I made a little weak art to showcase the new legendary, the Fistweaving legendary buff. So if I cast Essence Font, you can see here for the duration, this is where my damaging abilities like Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, and Tiger Palm are going to heal targets. Now keep in mind that this legendary used to be broken. It has been fixed. If you have Teaching the Monastery and you cast Blackout Kick and you get additional Blackout Kicks, those Blackout Kicks are going to proc the heal. So everything with this legendary has been fixed to some extent, but what kind of gameplay do we expect? So you are tied into casting Essence Font in order to get this healing bonus. So there is a mana constraint to it, which is a little bit weird. You also might consider, how do I prepare for this? You probably or might want to have 3 Teachings of the Monastery so you can use a Blackout Kick in order to do the max amount of healing. So let's say you cast Essence Font. Keep in mind, Essence Font has a cooldown and a cast duration associated with it. So we cast Essence Font, and then after that we might use something like Rising Sun Kick, then Blackout Kick, and you can see here that each of the Blackout Kicks is going to proc Ancient Teachings of the Monastery. Then we might go into, I don't know, Tiger Palm and try to build it up. Again, this is our duration, and when it runs out, we can cast Essence Font right after it. So we can technically do Essence Font, melee, 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 Essence Font, DPS, 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 DPS type of deal. The only constraint to this is the mana constraint or mana associated with casting Essence Font. So keep that in mind. There is some kind of consideration maybe to possibly, if you want to do more damage, to interrupt Essence Font cast and go straight into like Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick with triple Blackout Kicks from Teaching the Monastery. I don't know. I'm not sure if Blizzard wants you to cancel your Essence Font cast midway just to do more damage. So I'm somewhat excited to try it out. The initial review from other players is that the buff is not long enough, and that the associated cost of Essence Fund can be quite big. So I want to try it out, see how it goes. Let's look at the new legendary rework, and this is a big one because no one expected that Blizzard is going to actually rework certain legendaries for a class that a lot of people have forgotten, quite frankly, or at least they thought they have forgotten about them. So Tear of Mourning, Tom, has been an extremely popular legendary, probably from going the overpowered at the early stages, then getting nerfed and still being used in a lot of content, and now it's getting a complete rework. So casting Vivify or Enveloping Mist on a target with Renewing Mist has a 10% chance to spread the Renewing Mist to another target. I'm gonna roll a clip of me trying to test this out, and you need to have some missing HP in order to really make this work. Generally speaking, if you have Renewing Mist on a target that needs healing and you cast Vivify on them, you have a small percentage of replicating that Renewing Mist. Initial response from the testing: the replicated Renewing Mist is not going to be a full Renewing Mist. If you have 10 seconds of your Renewing Mist when it procs, your replica is going to have 10 seconds. That replica can also be extended by casting Rising Sunkick if you have Rising Mist talent in order to get your Fistweaving extension on HOTS. Your Vivify healing through Renewing Mist is increased by 20%. So this is a little bit weird. This is my initial reaction of this, is that it encourages you to cast Vivifies on targets that have Renewing Mist on them, which to some extent can cause overhealing, because quite frankly, if you cast Vivify on people that have Renewing Mist, there's also going to be splash healing on those targets that have Renewing Mist, and now that splash healing is also being increased, so possibly more overhealing, but that's just my initial thought from how I read the legendary. I'll test it out in Mythic Plus later on. The second part, which is even more interesting, your Enveloping Mist also heals allies with Renewing Mist for 20% of its healing. So all of a sudden, not only your Vivify is going to splash heal, but also your Enveloping Mist. Keep in mind that Enveloping Mist procs Gust of Mist. So all of a sudden in Mythic Plus scenarios, it feels really, or I feel there's going to be a substantial amount of healing if you have a lot of Renewing Mist out on the targets and you cast Enveloping Mist. That Enveloping Mist is going to splash heal on everyone who has Renewing Mist and also proc Mastery. So I feel that could be a pretty significant amount of healing if it stays like this. Keep in mind, this is the very early initial healing, and that kind of covers what happened to Mistweaver Monks. If we look at the changes in terms of Touch of Death, there's nothing really here. Actually, just a little tip. Quite a few people are testing out the Touch of Death legendary that reduces the cooldown of Touch of Death, and it's doing a substantial amount of damage. If you really want to do damage or DPS as a healer, you might want to try it out in beta, and it's doing quite a bit. In terms of Covenants, Bone Dust Brew has been buffed, so now your abilities have a 50% chance affect the target a second time at 35% effectiveness as shadow damage or healing. So Bone Dust Brew has been buffed. Feline Stomp the damage has been nerfed from 91% to 40%, which I'll cover later on because there's been a potency change happening. So Feline Stomp has been very, very popular for Mistweavers who are running Mythic Plus content because they want to add more damage, so we'll see how that's going to affect them. So now Potency Conjure has been increased by a large amount. So now increases the initial damage of Feline Stomp by 10% instead of used to be 5.5. Per target hit by that damage, up to a maximum of 52% additional damage instead of 27. So I think Blizzard is trying to do here is trying to add some sort of skill cap to Feline Stomp. Instead of doing initial or high damage no matter what, now it's going to do more damage if you hit more targets, which from this Potency Conduit, you can see that the more targets you hit, the bigger additional damage you get. So make sure you aim Feline Stomp at the correct position. We'll have to see what the combination is going to emerge as the most popular one for Mistweaver Monks, because this is still early days. So in terms of Holy Paladin, there's been quite a few reworks in terms of some of the legendaries, and then conduit, buffs and nerfs, and possibly range Holy Paladin making or being even more impactful. So let's first look at the legendary Shadowbreaker Dawn of Sun rework. So Light of Dawn's range is increased by 40 yards. All allies within your Light of Dawn benefit from Mastery Lightbringer as though they were within 10 yards for 6 seconds. So it's a buff that I am going to test it out. I added on grid 2 just to showcase it. And Wall of Glory receives 50% increased benefit from your Mastery. So let's go to the beta to really showcase the gameplay of this legendary. So right now I have this legendary equipped, and if I get 3 Holy Power, which is basically the amount of Holy Power I need in order to cast Light of Dawn, you'll notice that Light of Dawn has a 40 yard range, which is relatively, you're gonna hit a lot of people with it. Once you hit the people with Light of Dawn, you'll notice the 6-second buff that you have, and the way that it reads, let's press Light of Dawn, you can see it here, my grid too. The way that it reads is that receiving increased healing from myself, from this player. Generally speaking, if you want to see the kind of healing that you're gonna get, we can just take World of Glory as an example. So if we generate 3 holy powers in this situation here in order to cast World of Glory on a target that's relatively far away, we'll see that World of Glory is healing with this legendary on them, is healing for around 4,348. Now, if I generate enough holy power to cast Light of Dawn, which is going to be 40 yards, in order to hit this ally, and then cast World of Glory right afterwards, you'll see that if I cast Light of Dawn, you can see the debuff or buff on them. We cast Holy Shock to get 3 holy powers, we cast World of Glory on them, and World of Glory is healed for 4,948 in this situation. So you can see the type of interactions you expect from this legendary. Light of Dawn has 40-yard range. It increases the healing that you do based on increased mastery interaction. In terms of other changes for Holy Paladin, Shock Barrier, legendary has been changed. Now Holy Shock protects the target with a shield of Holy Light for 18 seconds, absorbing damage equal to 20% of the Holy Shock every 6 seconds. Can protect with 2 targets. Initially in the beta it didn't have a target cap. It was really strong with Divine Toll. It's been reworked. We'll see how that's going to impact, or how it's going to feel like in Mythic Plus and Raids. It's no surprise that Blizzard is trying to change or alter Holy Paladin Legendaries. Holy Paladin Legendaries were absolutely terrible, especially in Mythic Plus content, where like 2 or 3 top legendaries were from Retribution, and Holy Paladins would use those, the one that you stacked haste as well. So I think Blizzard is trying to fix the legendary problem for Holy Paladin. Only time will tell to see how it's going to impact them, but I guess Blizzard is trying. In terms of conduit changes, let's go look at them. So we can see here Aura Mastery increases the healing of your next 3 Light of Dawns by 30%. It's been nerfed from 40%. This is weird because this conduit was never really strong anyways. So maybe Blizzard is scared of certain synergy because they buffed the Light of Dawn legendary, or they reworked it. They're scared of certain synergies happening. I guess that's what they're trying to do here. Resplendent Light, and this is the potency conjure that's going to determine the title of the video. This is the ranged Holy Paladin conduit that gave a lot of its power, and it's been buffed from 5% to 6%. And all of a sudden, maybe Blizzard is pushing Holy Paladins towards that ranged build. This is pretty big what's happening here, because I think Blizzard is acknowledging the fact that they want Holy Paladins to have a ranged option, I guess. In terms of other conduit changes, Light of the Matter damage and healing is increased by 5% for each time it's cast. The effect can now stack up to 5 times and last for 15 seconds. It has been nerfed in terms of the more ranks you get. Keep in mind that there seems to be a certain nerfs happening to Necrolord ability, and I'll cover that. So if you go down, you'll notice that there's a lot of changes to finesse, endurance conjures, which I'm not really bothered about too much. You'll see here, Vanquisher's Hammer deals 20% increased damage and heals you for the damage done. I feel Blizzard is scared of a synergy that Necrolord could have with the new legendary, so let's go into beta and check that out. So right now, the way that Vanquisher's Hammers work is that throw a hammer at your target, dealing a certain amount of damage and empowering your next Word of Glory to automatically trigger Light of Dawn. You might look at this and be like, hey, it's not gonna have synergy with the legendary, because the legendary requires you to cast Light of Dawn and then World of Glory, instead of World of Glory and then Light of Dawn. And you're right, the initial testing is that it's not going to buff World of Glory if you cast it first and before Light of Dawn. But I think Blizzard is scared of an initial, I'm not sure, let's go and try it out. So for example, we're going to try and use our Vanquisher's or Vanquisher's Hammer on this target here. We need to get some holy power. We're gonna get a certain amount of holy power. So now we cast our Vanquisher's Hammer. Now for the next 20 seconds we can cast World of Glory, and that's going to automatically trigger Light of Dawn. So we're gonna try and get a bit of holy power, and we're gonna cast World of Glory on this target, and Light of Dawn automatically triggered. Now for the 6 seconds I have this certain buff from this legendary that also increases my mastery type of deal. So all of a sudden maybe Blizzard is scared about the synergy that happens afterwards, because if you look at the actual log that happened here, World of Glory healed for 4,400, which was around the same that we did before. So it wasn't buffed by the actual Light of Dawn from the initial testing. So you can see that maybe Blizzard is scared about what's happening after you cast Vanquisher's Hammer, after you cast World of Glory, Light of Dawn, everyone is gonna have, or a lot of people are gonna have that Light of Dawn buff on them. There's going to be more healing because of how Mastery is going to be affected there. So maybe that's why Blizzard is nerfing Vanquisher's Hammer, because I'm not sure if Vanquisher's Hammer deserved the nerf, because Divine Toll has been the go-to choice, at least in Mythic Plus situations. So let's go back to the notes. So besides the nerfs to Necrolords, we saw buffs to Kyrian. That is, the Potency Conjure and Divine Toll has a 40% chance to cast 3 extra time on the main target. And again, I'm not sure what Blizzard is trying to do. Are they just trying to make everyone go Divine Toll? We'll have to see if this is the correct change. This Endurance Conjure changes. Potency Conjures, again, Blessing of Summer lasts 25% longer instead of 30%, so nerfs to Night Fae, which again wasn't a huge pick anyways. And generally speaking, Holy Paladin received some questionable changes, I guess. If you really like the range Holy Paladin build, you might be happy about this. Let me know, guys. Let's go down the list and let's go to Priest. And Priest didn't get a whole lot, but they did get something really nice. The cost change, or the mana change for Mind Blast, went from 2.5% of the base mana to 0.3, which is actually insane, because Mind Blast is one of the things that will make you run out of mana if you keep casting it, in the same way that Shadow World Death mana cost has been reduced. Shadow World Pain cost has been reduced as well, which is really interesting. It makes your Discipline Priest use more abilities. This is, again, let me know how you feel about this. In terms of other changes, there wasn't a huge thing for Priest, and we'll move on to Shamans. And Shamans really got not a lot of things happening here. The one legend they got buffed is the legend that I really don't want to be viable. So casting Riptide has a 7% chance instead of a 5% chance to activate Ascendance for 6 seconds. I'm not a huge fan of these oranges legendaries, which is, again, maybe it's going to be viable in certain situations, but I don't want it to be viable because I'm not a huge fan of randomness as a healer. So this kind of covers the overall changes for healers in this week. Let me know how you feel about this. Let me know if it's too long, if I should cut it down, or guys, if you want to see this as a series, leave a comment. If I missed out on something, leave a comment, and I'll see you in my next